Happy Monday! It's the Prep Queen, Ari Lipstein, taking you to 6 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Prep Queen Pod. We've got a lot of great stuff today because we've got a locked and loaded show and a locked and loaded night in sports. It's also a happy Monday because the Ravens couldn't upset me yesterday, so that is fantastic news. Lamar Jackson not practicing today, but are we surprised? No, we are not. Today's show, Mid-Major Matt going to join us in about 3 minutes. We'll talk Monday Night Football. We'll talk Major League Baseball. We've got 2 Monday Night Football games. We have Major League Baseball's ALCS, winner take all, Game 7. There's nothing like a Game 7. And then we've got Jared R. Block, as always, from Trinity Analytics, joining us on a Monday. We're going to talk Monday Night Football props. We'll put together our SGP, got a little MLB, a preview of the NBA, which starts tomorrow. We're going to have a lot of NBA guests tomorrow because this afternoon I was thinking about it and I was like, tomorrow doesn't really have a lot going on. But then I remembered it was the NBA opener tomorrow. There's no off time in sports. We are continuously in the grind and we're trying to make money. Yesterday sucked for me, to be honest. I didn't have a good NFL day. I bet a lot of stuff early, and Kelly and Vegas and I always joke that when we buy in early, we get the CLV trophy because the closing line value trophy, it ends up laughing at us when we lose after we think we're so smart for betting so early in the week. It is a new week, but it's kind of not yet because it's still week 7 in the NFL. So tonight we've got the Bucs and the Lions, and then we've got the Texans and the Seahawks. We're going to have a 10 p.m. game tonight here on the East Coast. I'm just concerned for Seattle. The ratings in Seattle have to suck for Monday Night Football. Everyone's going to be paying attention to the Seattle Mariners. That game should at least be over by halftime. So I'm glad that some of you guys had good days yesterday. Yeah, Denver was crazy. Absolute insanity for the New York Giants staying in that game and having a bajillion point lead, just like the Ravens would have. And they blew it just like the Ravens would have, obviously. Denver was like the most popular teaser. Everyone was like, there's no way that the Giants could have a good game after beating their rivals in prime time against the Eagles. Ended up staying away. Where I also stayed away was the Cowboys. And I'm pissed because as soon as we found out that Trayvon Diggs was out because he had some weird concussion in his house, I backed off of the Cowboys. And I wish I didn't now. I was disappointed in a few teams yesterday, to be honest with you. The Chargers were kind of disappointing yesterday. I'm just going to go through all the scores real quick, and then we'll bring on Mid-Major Matt. The Saints, they were annoying. I had them plus 5.5, and they lost 26-14 to Chicago. I don't know why Alvin Kamara didn't rush for over 45.5 yards, and that's why they lost. Screw you, New Orleans. Tennessee, you also got embarrassed by the Patriots when all the sharps were trying to say that you guys fired your coach and that you shouldn't, the whole Vrabel narrative was the most public narrative inside of yesterday. The most bet on team yesterday against the spread. The most heavily bet, the biggest ticket amount of the day yesterday was the freaking New England Patriots. And they ended up covering and winning outright. So, let's see what else. Philly, Minnesota. That game was a pros versus Joes game. I feel like a lot of people were on Minnesota, but at least if you teased Minnesota, you hit that teaser, so that's good. Unlike the Denver Broncos, who end up winning 33-32, and you could have had a -1.5 there and lost because the game fell 1. Stupid. The Jets lose again. That's just crazy, and maybe I'll get my good friend Dean Martinez on, who's got a very good New York Jets series on YouTube. He's getting good ratings, and it's because people love misery. Yeah, the Chargers sucked. I thought that was a good spot for them, getting the Colts, because the Colts have played – well, the Chargers played a ton of road games. The Colts really haven't played anybody outside of Denver, and they almost lost that game. Colts legit, I guess, 38-24 win over LA. And I'll be honest, I didn't watch the night games. I was traveling back to New York City after I was home at my parents' house. So the San Francisco 49ers win again, 20-10. If only my Ravens could learn a lesson or two from banged-up teams staying in games. Just such BS. Beyond. Anyway, Mid-Major Matt will be happier this week than last week because at least his Eagles pulled out a win yesterday. Your Eagles, how you feeling?
Carson Wentz is Carson Wentz. That's all there is to it. He will, no matter what jersey he's in, he will always make bad interceptions, bad intentional groundings, and just have generally no awareness as to what's going on in a football game.
The Giants have been in these games now for the last few weeks. They beat you guys. They almost won yesterday. Are you worried about facing the Giants next week?
I'd like to think not. I think the Eagles, if I was Nick Sirianni, I just show video of Jackson Dart and Scatterboo doing flips and going nuts and stuff like that. And I don't even have to do anything else. Just be like, look, they danced on you. They did all these things to you. Like, just remind them at home that they're the Giants and we're the Eagles. We won the Super Bowl last year. And so, that's all you need to do. I just feel like that was a bad game, short week. You give all the credit in the world to New York for what they did, but I can't imagine that they're going to sweep the Eagles this year.
Monday Night Football tonight. You do have some props. Let's start with the football game. Kicker Whisperer, Fairbairn over 1.5 field goals, -129. How come Fairbairn's going to kick those field goals late night?
So he's had a lot of opportunities so far this year. And remember, we're now in a situation where teams, when they cross the 40-yard line, they're going to kick field goals. He's had multiple field goals in 4 of his last 5 games. Seattle is allowing 2.5 attempts per game, 3 attempts per game at home. There is no weather. There's no rain. There's no wind or anything tonight. So I think I trust this defense. Here's the interesting thing. So Houston this year is number 1 in the league by far at the least amount of opponent field goals made per game. 0.4 field goals have been made per game against Houston this year. Not a single one in Houston, which obviously doesn't affect us here, but that's why I didn't like the Seattle side of things. But Seattle's allowing a lot of attempts. Fairbairn is kicking a lot of attempts. Seattle's not 100% defensively. So I feel like this is a good opportunity for CJ Stroud to move his team into field goal range and for us to get 2 from Fairbairn.
I love that Lewis Creech asked this question because Matt and I are actually on the same page about the Goff over rushing yards. It's a great price, and I'll let Matt tell you his reasoning, and then I'll talk about my reasoning for Jared Goff to go over 0.5 rushing yard. And of course, it is a little scary just because if they do win, and they are, 5.5, 6.5 point favorites, the Lions, the kneel downs could hurt you in this situation. But Matt, give your reasoning for why you're not afraid of that.
So, I mean, part of the reason why is the price. +135. I just feel like that is amazing to get something that, I know you and I both know because we've done a lot of props lately. When you get a +135, for the most part, it's because the books are so sure of it and there's a lot of numbers backing it. But if you look at Jared Goff running this year, he's running a little bit more. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Josh Allen. He's not any of these guys, but he doesn't want to run, but he is running a little bit more. Plus, if you look at his recent history against Tampa Bay, and these two teams have played a lot, he had 5 yards rushing last year against Tampa Bay. He had 6 rushes for 6 yards in the playoffs against Tampa Bay, and then he had 2 rushes for 3 yards. All we need is a 4-yard run because the most you're going to get kneel downs wise is 3. And I just look, if this was -135, I'd say no, I'm not playing this. But at +135, for me to basically hope that Jared Goff falls forward on one play, I'll take a shot at it.
Yeah, I was looking at his primetime numbers. Goff's averaging just over 3 rushing yards a game through his last 10 primetime games. He's actually gone over in 3 of his last 5 primetime games at home. He had 7 rushing yards in all 3 of those matchups. So Jared Goff, again, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to run for 20. Over 0.5 rushing yard, as long as the kneel downs don't hurt you, it actually kind of makes sense, especially against this defense that has been allowing the 5th most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks, the Bucs.
Yeah, so I'm looking now because somebody was just talking about the price. I'm going to go on my DraftKings real quick to see what it is because when I got it in, I believe it was last night. So right now it's at -105. So this is one of those cases where you had to get in really early. And look, go from
I had +120 this morning on Fanatics.
Yeah, so to go from +135 to -105, I think a lot of people are like you and I who want to take a shot. I mean, at -105, I'm probably not going to play it. If I woke up and just saw this number now, probably not going to do it. But at +135, for him to fall forward, literally, I think I'm going to take that shot.
Where did you find the Bucs over 2.5 touchdowns? Because obviously Baker Mayfield, I was looking at his over 1.5 passing touchdowns. It was -150 this morning, and I was like, absolutely not. what about this Bucks over 2.5 touchdowns? I've never seen the market.
Oh, it's in DraftKings. If you go to
That's
team
what I
props,
figured.
it's right below. And actually, it's funny because I think it's actually starting to creep into more places because it's a great market. I play it a lot more for college games, and it's been a solid bet in the college game, but in the pro game, you could see it. Like I'm looking right now, it's on Bet Rivers, it's on DraftKings, FanDuel, and BetMGM. Although BetMGM has 3.5 for some reason, which makes no sense, but I don't want to bet against Baker Mayfield going against a secondary that has their top 5 corners out. You have Mike Evans. Granted, he might not be 100%. You have K. Dotton, who hopefully will be doing less cardio and more catching tonight. You have Rashad White. You have, our guy, Sean Tucker.
Didn't they say that Igbuka was questionable and had a shot to play?
Yeah, he does. I'm not going to count on it, but if he does,
he's been cleared to play, they said, with his hamstring.
I mean, if he plays, that's great. I'm not betting against Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's my favorite quarterback. I said all along, I'd rather have Baker Mayfield than Jalen Hurts. Hurts looked really good last week. Don't get me wrong, but Baker Mayfield he makes throws, and I think his teammates believe in him. And I think he's a guy that you really can get behind. And he's not afraid to take contact. He's not afraid to make huge throws. And I'm guessing I wouldn't. Bad week to say that because Jalen Hurts had one of his best games as an Eagle, but I love Baker Mayfield, and going into Detroit, he won't care. He doesn't care. And so I think he gets a couple touchdowns. I think they get a rushing touchdown. I feel like over 2.5 touchdowns is a good bet with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach outside of the minus 150 that I wasn't willing to lay on Baker to throw 1.5. So if he's going to throw over 1.5, which means he throws 2, then all you need is 1 more. And I wouldn't doubt that. Right now, you've got Tampa at minus 425 to win the division. And it's I was actually doubting them, and silly me. It's a high total, 53.5. So 3 touchdowns and a 53.5 makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, once again, where I don't think people look as much to this market. I think they look at the team totals, and I think team totals are great, and I play a lot of team totals. But if I know that there's a team that loves to pay off their drives with touchdowns instead of field goals, why not take a chance on this? And that way you can, if they score 3 touchdowns and lose, I still win my bet. So that's why I love this market.
Super Bowl market right now. So we are almost done with week 7 after today. And the Chiefs are favored at 5-1, which tells me that there's value in the market. I'm not buying the Chiefs yet. Everyone else just sucks right now. Bills, my good friend JJ, he said he's not buying in on the Bills at 7-1. Green Bay plus 750. Detroit 8-1. Your Eagles 10-1. Hard to repeat. Colts 13-1. Rams 14-1. Bucks 19-1. I mean, any teams that have value to you in the Super Bowl market now that we've seen and gotten the numbers that you would be willing to put some money
on? Look, I hate to say this, but if I was I treat the futures market as a sprinkle market. I don't bet a lot on any futures. I basically just go and put a couple dollars down on a couple things. And if something hits, then it pays off. And if it loses, I'm not very sad about it. So I hate to say it as an Eagles fan, but Dallas at 100-1, look, their defense is terrible.
They have no defense.
They don't, but their offense is really good. Dak is on fire, and I know Dak turns into a terrible quarterback in the postseason, but it's a really good offense. And, if Washington keeps falling and Dallas finishes second in that division, heck, they still play the Eagles one more time. The Eagles have a very tough stretch where they play the Lions and the Packers in 6 days. They play Dallas as the 3rd team in that stretch. There's not a lot of easy games left in the Eagles schedule. I'm throwing up in my mouth a little bit, but I'm just saying at 100-1 to get one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league with 2 good wide receivers and a defense that, who knows, maybe Jerry Jones turns into Howie Roseman and makes smart trades at the trade deadline and they get better. But at 100-1, it's worth $1 or $2 or a quarter of a unit, a third of a unit, whatever. It's worth something just in case they do some things. I don't think there's a dominant team this year. I really don't. Don't give me the Bills. The Bills love playing down to their competition. The Bills love losing to Patrick Mahomes. The Packers defense isn't good enough. The Lions defense, I don't think is good enough. Their offense is very good. I mean, I still like the Rams, but their defense hasn't been great either. So I think if you really want to find some value, and I mean a sprinkle bet, it's sadly the Dallas Cowboys probably.
Okay, 100-1. Oh boy. I don't really do as much college football. So just recap for us from the weekend. big storylines, things to look at maybe for this coming week, or just things that might have shifted your thoughts on certain teams after this past weekend?
Well, I'm surprised that both Florida State and North Carolina let their respective coaches come back home. I would have thought after Florida State lost at Stanford and North Carolina lost at Cal that we were going to have a movie with Bill Belichick and Mike Norvell trying to get back to the East Coast because they were both be fired, but unfortunately they were not. I think, we're kind of in this point now where you're starting to see the teams who are giving up on the season and that you want to fade constantly, because there are some teams right now that know they don't have a bowl in their future. Like in Oklahoma State, they fired their coach, they got their 1 week bump, and now they're kind of like done for the season. So like this is now the opportunity where you're going to start to see more team total bets, more bets on teams to score a ton of points. We know guys like Indiana. We know Kurt Cignetti is another guy. He went for the spread. It was a gorgeous thing because I won my team total bet. But like Kurt Cignetti was up, 25 points and kicked a meaningless field goal to get the cover for the boosters. So like he's a guy that certainly knows his sort of thing. I'm looking right now because we talked about on the show. Oh boy. So last week we bet the first quarter under in the Minnesota game. It's been the best bet in college football because Minnesota is one of the slowest teams in the first quarter. Their defense is really good. Problem is they're playing Iowa this week, and the number is 7.5. And I'm going to take it because I've taken it every week almost the last 3 years. I hate the 7.5 because a kickoff return, a fluke play ruins that sort of thing. But one of the best bets in sports, Minnesota first quarter under, hit again last week. And so we're probably going to do it once again, even though it's 7.5.
Craig Abel wants to know if you think North Carolina's given up on the season.
So this week, for those who are not as familiar, Carolina and Virginia is a huge college football rivalry. They've played, I think, either the most or the second most in history of college football. But to me, Belichick seems like the type of guy who's like, well, every game's a rivalry. Every game is very important for us. Nobody's more important. But like, I feel like this could be the last game for them. They're home. You get a ranked team in your building. You're 10.5-point underdogs. I think if they play well in this game, they probably don't give up on the rest of the season. If they play terribly in this game, then yes, full fade on North Carolina, team total overs, touchdown overs, everything for the opponent. But I feel like this week, much like we called Florida the last couple weeks ago when they played Texas, as that kind of being their last game, I think this is North Carolina's last game before they basically say, screw it, like we're done with Bill Belichick and we're ready to go transfer elsewhere and end the season.
Well, someone's season's going to end in Major League Baseball tonight. Game 7, nothing better. Blue Jays, Mariners. You're liking the Blue Jays over in the first 5, 1.5 runs. You're laying some hefty juice there, minus 140. How come you don't believe in George Kirby on the mound for the Mariners?
I mean, did we see his last start at home? I mean, it was
brutal. One start.
I get it. He's got a 5 ERA at home on the road. And look, I don't think he's going to last very long. And So I was looking at
it's all hands on deck. Everyone's available. John Schneider, the manager of the Blue Jays, said, except for who was it that pitched yesterday?
Wasn't Bright.
Oh, wait, sorry. I'm talking Blue Jays, not Mariners. John Schneider said everyone but you Savage is available in Toronto. And then the Mariners said everyone is available outside of who pitched yesterday? Logan Gilbert?
Yeah, Logan Gilbert.
Yeah, Logan Gilbert. Sorry, I was at a family thing yesterday, so I wasn't able to really watch. But you Savage, Gilbert, only one's not available. Obviously, 2 players that were starting yesterday. But all managers said all pitchers ready to go tonight.
Yeah, I like this Toronto offense at home. And you're giving me a pitcher who's not as good on the road, and you're giving me an offense that is better at home, it feels like. And look, I don't think Kirby's going deep. I think Kirby wouldn't have gone 4 in his game against the Blue Jays if it was a game that mattered. They were very nice to let him go out there and basically, get beaten up a little bit in that game. And so you look at his road starts and how he's been on the road this season. I believe in this Blue Jays team. You give me 1.5 and almost, look, if they play the Dodgers in the World Series and you give me 1.5 in the first 5 innings, I will, chances are, look at that a lot in the Dodgers series too, even against that great pitching. I like this lineup. I think they have confidence. And I don't think George Kirby has confidence. And I almost think this is going to be one of those starts where Kirby's looking over his shoulder after he gives up a hit. Like, he might go after the very first hit or 2 hits in a row. Like, I just don't think he's long for this game. And so I like this Toronto lineup. Remember, they would have paid off the one in game 5 if they didn't hit into a double play with the bases loaded.
That was
as you
very
told me.
annoying. We
Yeah,
were
as you
both on
told me.
that.
Yeah, as you reminded me in that game, even though they did get one run, we didn't get our second one. But I just like this lineup at home, and I don't like Kirby on the road, and I think Kirby's not going to last long. So give me the 1.5 here.
You think the Blue Jays end up winning the game?
I do. I'm a little concerned about, I don't know. I don't love the Toronto bullpen as much. But once again, we're going to see starters in this game. We're going to see pretty much anybody who could be available. The one unit I trust in this game is Toronto's lineup. So if this game does become a higher scoring game, which I can't imagine it will, I think Toronto can keep scoring. I just don't think Seattle can. I thought it was interesting that everybody's betting the over on Bieber's strikeouts. And I get it, Seattle struck out a ton, but I definitely can see them yanking Bieber early. The line's telling me with his outs under being overwhelmingly to the under, Bieber better get 5 strikeouts in the first 3 innings because he may not go much longer than that.
Yeah, it seems like an all hands on deck scenario where in these games 6 and 7, even if someone's pitching well, you'll always see these managers pull. And I don't think the World Series doesn't. Oh, no, it starts in 2 days. So it does start
Friday. No, the World Series starts on Friday.
Friday. Okay. No, why does ESPN say World Series game 1 Wednesday? Oh, no, it says Friday. Sorry, that was weird. I was very confused. It was messed up on the website. It said, I clicked no one cares. I clicked Wednesday, and then it said below Wednesday, Friday. Anyway, so they have the days off. So I just never trust any kinds of overs in elimination games because they're going to pull as soon as Bieber gives up 2 hits and has runners on first and second with no out in the 3rd or 4th inning. He's getting yanked.
Plus, I don't love Bieber's stuff seeing a team the second time around. He hasn't done that yet this year because obviously he didn't come back until late. He didn't do it last year because he got hurt last. The last time that Bieber, and I'm looking at his thing, he actually didn't even have one of those in 2023. I just don't trust his stuff to be as sharp the second time around when somebody has seen him. Last time he had back-to-backs was 2022 when he faced the same opponent back-to-back. So, I just don't love his stuff the second time through, which makes me think he's not going to last as long.
Right, and I was also looking at some numbers. Bieber's only other start with a chance to clinch a postseason series victory was Game 3 of this year's ALDS at Yankee Stadium. He gave up 3 runs, went just 2 2/3 when Toronto lost that game. So he's really not even as experienced when it comes to these postseason clinchers. Now, I know that he is a veteran, and I know that that's a silly stat, but it does mean, okay, have you been under this kind of pressure? Have you not? And if he falls under the pressure, I don't know. I can't bet overs. I cannot bet overs in this game. It is absolutely under or nothing for everything. Except I know you're saying the first 5 over 1.5 if you don't trust Kirby, but I just can't be bet. I'm not betting overs.
I get it. I like this offense, and it's an offense that we would mostly get 2.5s in the regular season for their first 5, and you're giving me a 1.5. So I'm gonna take a shot. It's not a guarantee bet. If it goes the way game 7s go, it's going to be low scoring. It's going to be somebody makes the wrong pitching change, somebody makes a mistake in the field, and it's like a 2-1 game. But I just think at home with a shaky starting pitcher, there's an opportunity for Toronto to get some early runs.
In case you guys just need a little bit of a refresher, here's my Major Matt's card for today. Jays first 5 over 1.5. Fairbairn over 1.5 field goals. Goff over 0.5 rushing yard, but only in plus money. And then the Bucks over 2.5 touchdowns, minus 130. Mid-Major Matt, make sure to check him out on the PropQueen.com's newsletter where you could get the Mid-Major Matt college football newsletter. Thank you, as always. Good luck to those bets tonight, Matt.
I will talk to you on Friday.
See you on Friday. Mark saying possible Game 6 Halloween. I leave for Aruba that day. Halloween's overrated, bro. I'm not a Halloween fan. Our next guest coming from Trinity Analytics, Jared Block, joining the show as he does every Monday. Are you a Halloween guy?
My fiance is. Me, I feel like I'm the one that gets roped into the couple costumes. So that's my role in all this. But I'll go to a party. We'll hang out.
You're gonna dress up as Props.Cash.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've already got half of it down, right? So, yeah, I'm kind of a Halloween guy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that my trip to Aruba, I take off on Halloween. I can't stand that holiday. I know that's terrible, but for the kids, it's cute. I think it's really cute for kids. I hate it. I don't want to find an outfit that I'm going to wear once. I don't want to come up with a costume idea. I just want to watch sports. And it's on a Friday, guys. So if game 6 is going on, like, I don't really care about Halloween.
Good
I'm
point.
going to be watching sports, but I'm going to dress up as a tourist and being on the beach in Aruba because that's exactly what my Halloween should be every year. Okay, let's get into some Monday Night Football, and then we'll dive into some baseball. And Jared's also going to talk to us about the NBA because we have the NBA starting tomorrow. So we'll get some of his insights, things that he's going to be taking a look at. But first, NFL, Baker Mayfield. We're on the same page here, but you did an SGP with Baker?
I think you can attack the Baker stuff from multiple ways. I'm a fantasy first person, so that's kind of where I would start the convo. But we've talked about the Bucks on primetime on this podcast before and on this show, and I think that there's another. I believe that the Bucks were a road team in that game early on in the year, and they are here. And I do think that there's a rushing market that's quite interesting for this. Let me just pull this up really quickly here, because I want to make sure I get it right. Yeah. So in road situations in this Tampa offense since like the back half of 2024, Baker has recorded 20 plus rushing yards in 9 of the last 11 away from Tampa. You factor that into Detroit allowing they allow the 7th most rushing yards to the QB position over the last 4 weeks, and that's not even accounting for what took place in the last on Sunday here. So they've already been leaky against mobile quarterbacks. I don't really think Baker's obviously elite in that department, but he certainly is consistent around the 20 plus rush yard mark.
Okay, so you would go with the 20 plus rush yards, and Goff, you said 2+ passing scores?
Yeah, I mean, the team total is almost 30. I think that they find that they're going to have a tough time running in this matchup. So I don't think it's a good rushing matchup for Detroit, but we know that Tampa's a pass funnel, and that has seemed to evolve over the course of the last couple of weeks here specifically. So I think Tampa can have success offensively. Detroit's missing a lot of their defensive backs, and I just think that's going to push Detroit to pass. So I like the over of the Goff stuff. And he's been very much more consistent at home than away. Obviously, though,
If you like Goff to pass, how much do you like Goff over pass attempts?
I'm willing to look into it. I didn't look at that market, but I can look at it right now. Let's see here. I just think that they're going to have a hard time running the football. And if you're talking about more passing, that just means more plays and more possessions. So I think that they'll find that they should have more success through the air here. Goff at home. Let's see. This season doesn't look great, but again, the 2 games that they played at home, they've smashed their opponents. Last 20 on props.cash, it says 11 out of 10. Seems to be more in that feels like there's a lot of variance in that play, but I can certainly get behind it if we think this game shoots out. Like 33 pass attempts is certainly in the range of outcomes at plus money.
So you think that the Lions will have trouble running the football. For the Bucks, yeah. Rashad White, how would you play their running back?
Yeah, I mean, you can't really run over the Lions right now, but what you can do is they're allowing a lot of running back dump offs. And I think that this plays into more of a game script situation like it has all season for Detroit. Like I said, they've stomped their opponents in the games that they've won. And you could just see a heavy passing script for Tampa if they get down in this game early, which we should expect in this situation is nearly touchdown favorites for Detroit here. I do think that if you look at the last 4 weeks specifically, and you filter by targets and by receptions, you're going to see that Detroit is just allowing a ton of scheming. Like I said, they've allowed 30 targets to running backs.
Cash so we could kind of explain it on the screen.
Sure.
Okay, hold on. So share screen. Oh no, I don't even have it up. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I feel like at least explaining what you're seeing. So you want to talk about Rashad White?
I do.
So Rashad White, and you want to talk about receiving?
I want to talk about specifically receptions, I think.
Receptions. Okay. Share screen. And remember, everyone, you can subscribe to props.cash. You get 50% off the first month if you use promo code PropQueen. So use promo code PropQueen, and you could see all this stuff for like half off on that first month, which I think is about like $9. So definitely make sure to take a look at that on props.cash. Okay, Rashad White, receptions, go.
So obviously we know he's in a full-time role now without Bucky, and I'm not concerned about Sean Tucker. Look, he Bucky was in. Like, I know Tucker got the touchdown last week, but Bucky was in on that whole drive and then just got vultured for that one possession. So in a passing script, we're not going to see Tucker play that much anyway. And I do think that Bucky is obviously the more talented pass catching back, even when throwing the Bucky Irving situation in there. But now we don't have Bucky. He's caught 3+ passes for 20 yards through the air in 3 straight weeks, and Tampa's been in all of these games. I think that they can remain in this game as well. I think that you can attack the 3.5 is the major market right now for Bucky Irving receptions, and I think when you look at the volume, what he's getting the last couple of weeks, you factor in that Mike Evans and Ibuka are both confirmed in, which is going to take a lot of that's going to force essentially like all hands on deck in the secondary that's already really beat up. And I do think you're going to find success from Baker if he's able to scramble and dump his things off to his running back, which he's done a lot. Like I said, the Lions are allowing the second most targets and the 5th most receptions. Those numbers are 30 and 23 over the last 4 weeks respectively. So I think that they can have success there. But the matter of fact is, like, this is more of a scheme thing for Detroit, where I think that they're trying to keep defenses in front of them and not allow the big play. And now that they don't have anybody to really defend the position very well, I just think that they're going to have to allow these easy passes.
I feel like everybody is talking about Cade Otton today. The chat's talking about Cade Otton. I've seen people on social media talk about Cade Otton. Thoughts on Cade Otton now that we know Ibuka should be playing tonight, Mike Evans should be in tonight in Tampa?
Yeah, I'm a little bit hesitant on saying that this is going to be a fantastic game for Cade. I do want to say that, he's in the chat, probably knows this too, which is why they're excited about it. He's got double-digit fantasy points per game and 50+ receiving yards in back-to-back contests. I think the main source of all of this, because he had been playing 90% of snaps for the majority of the first month of the year, just not getting any work. The main thing here is that, like, when Ibuka went down, there was nobody to really go to, and they went to Tez Johnson. They went to Sterling Shepard a lot, but like, I think that this game just needs to shoot out tremendously in order for him to replicate the success. Thankfully, the Lions are allowing the 5th most receiving yards to the tight end position over the last 4 weeks, so DVP is there. I do worry that Baker just force feeds Ibuka and Evans at the same time, though, so that's a little bit iffy to me.
Right. Everyone talking about the Cade Otton game, but I feel like we're forgetting that Ibuka is going to play, and that was the big difference maker with no Ibuka in those spots. You also are looking at, in the late game now, we're going to switch over to the Texans and Seahawks game. Mid-major Matt likes Kaimi Fairbairn as well tonight. You are going with the 2 or more made field goals. Matt likes it too. Give us the reason.
Yeah, I think this is a combination of Houston's moving the ball well in the last couple of games, and they trust Fairbairn to confirm when things are. I think that Seattle will have their moments tonight where they'll step in when Houston gets into these long drives, but they've shown that they have tremendous confidence in Fairbairn home and away. He's recorded 2+ field goals in 8 of his last 10, and a lot of those in crucial situations. So I like that quite a bit. He's already hit 2+ in 4 or 5 games this season. And like I said, I think that we've seen Seattle. Now, they also have a really banged up secondary, just like Detroit. I think Houston's going to have tremendous success moving the football. And we've seen the last couple Seattle affairs, they've gone way over in these game total environments because their defense can't stop anybody.
Nico Collins is the receiver that you want to target today in Houston. Obviously, it seems obvious. Nico Collins,
Yeah.
deep threat, can rack up yardage. How would you play Nico?
First, I'd look for a place to play him in fantasy. I think Prize Picks is the preferred option because that's a PPR scoring site. If you don't have access to that, I think that the longest reception prop's quite interesting. He has caught a 24+ yard pass in 4 straight games now.
Woof.
And if you don't want to rely on a big play, I still think over I think it's 73, 74 receiving yards is certainly in play in this spot. The Seahawks have allowed the second most fantasy points and second most receiving yards to the position over the last 4 weeks. And it's mainly on this like last 2 to 3 week stint with all their guys out.
I want to look at this longest reception. Let's see, last 10 primetime. Nico Collins, 4 straight primetime games in the last 10. Damn.
Yep. There you go.
Averaging 41 yards per longest catch, according to props.cash. Nico Collins' longest catch in primetime. That's crazy.
Yeah, some of those are playoff games, right? But I do think that we've already seen them in primetime once this year. I like that. And I think that the main thing here is that he's already been doing it, and it just works out that he's in primetime this week in a good matchup. So I think that he'll continue that success today.
It's funny that Uncle Ted brought up Torrey Horton, because I actually just picked up Torrey Horton in fantasy because I totally forgot about whatever. I was an idiot this weekend. I was very busy with family stuff, and Ricky Pearsall was in my lineup. So by the time the 1 o'clock games hit, I'm like, oh crap, I got to find somebody. So I end up picking up Torrey Horton to replace Ricky Pearsall in my lineup. What do we think about Torrey Horton tonight?
Yeah, I think you're just betting on, he's going to get his 3 to 5 targets. And I do think that he has a good shot to break open here. And obviously the defense will be, prioritizing stopping the Collins stuff. So, sorry, wrong team. My bad. We're talking about Torrey Horton. Okay. I mean, like, I don't think this is a good matchup for anybody on Seattle's side. And we'll talk about why if you want to go into it further.
Yeah,
but
go for it.
You're just going to have to rely on like 3 to 5 deeper targets. And all of those targets have a very, very large average depth of target. So I do think that, it's a very risk reward type of situation. Personally, I am calling that Houston covers this game and they have a shot at winning. We've seen lots of dogs cover and win in these primetime games. Even the Niners did it last night as a slight underdog. So I do like Houston's outlook quite a bit. I just don't trust any of the Seattle pass catching options outside of maybe JSN, but his markets are going to be so overjuiced just because everybody loves him and he's got a great target share. Houston's secondary and defense in general is one of the best in the league, and that's just not
look at us on the side here on
target.
props.cash. Only 35% of wide receivers have gone over their prop against Houston this year.
Yeah, they've allowed, I think, like the 3rd fewest 20+ yard catches as well.
Yeah, and again, I picked up Torrey Horton out of desperation, not because I thought it was a good matchup, but that's besides the point.
Exact number. They've allowed 14 explosive plays of 20+ yards, which is 3rd fewest.
We also are on the same page in this game about the running backs out of the backfield for Houston. I couldn't make up my mind, so I'm happy that you're on the same page and you can help me make up my mind. So Nick Chubb's rushing yards prop is way too freaking low. I actually wanted to bet it under, but it's too low to bet an under on, but I would not be betting any kind of rushing over in the matchup. However, receiving yards is where I was looking. You could get Nick Chubb over 1.5 receptions at +125, over 6.5 receiving yards. Woody Marks, you could get over 2.5 receptions, +141, or over 14.5 receiving yards, which is crazy because Woody Marks has only gone over that number, I think, twice this year, 14.5. He had 37 against Tampa, 50 against Tennessee. How are we deciding between Chubb and Marks in the receiving game?
Well, you're right. I mean, we're definitely fading rushing yards. I think this is a great receiving spot for these guys, and I do think that if Collins is able to get going early, if Schultz is able to get going early, I think that these dump-off situations could look really good for Houston. The main thing why I'm leaning Chubb right now is not really why you'd think it is. I do think it's quite obvious to say that, everybody's hyped about Woody Marks. He looked great in that one game. He's shown some upside, and he gets the post-bye rookie bump. They were on bye last week. Like, all those things are good. But I do think at the end of the day, We're looking specifically at how Chubb is going to operate in these first, second down situations. And if they're moving the football, there's a good chance that Stroud can do well if he's not being pressured. And we know that Seattle is a bottom 5 pressure unit in the NFL thus far. Stroud this season has checked down at a 7.5% clip to his running backs versus bottom half blitzing defenses. So if there's less pressure, he's more apt to look at these running backs. Whereas if the opposite happens, he's more looking at wide receivers or tight ends. He's not really focused on running backs.
We have to put this SGP together real quick, and then we'll dive into Major League Baseball and a little bit of NBA. I would love to throw one of the, I'll throw the Nick Chubb receiving yards into the SGP because I was waiting for someone to try to give me some reasoning. And you're looking at, I guess, just pretty much snap count for it. It's such a low number. You like receiving or receptions? Receiving?
I like receiving yards, yes.
Yeah, okay. So let's throw Nick Chubb receiving yards over 6.5. Okay. Next one. You also like, should we throw, did I agree? Baker 2+ touchdowns?
Yeah, I like that quite a bit.
Okay, so Baker 2+ touchdowns. I have to stop saying okay. I just caught myself. Baker 2+ touchdowns. And it's good because I didn't want to bet it because it was too juiced for me on the passing touchdowns market at -180. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you're not playing that by itself. You got to put it with something.
No, not playing that by itself. Let's see what else. I have 2 I have to give out. I'm trying to see what the chat also like too. A few things we didn't touch on, I guess. Anything Jahmyr Gibbs that you like? David Montgomery. I was looking at under rushing attempts for Rachaad White.
For the Lions, their team total is so good, but it's hard for me to love the running backs, even with them being almost a touchdown home favorite. Tampa's been our run funnel, like we've mentioned. What they do is that they do allow a lot of receptions and receiving yards out of the backfield. And it's not really a Montgomery market I'd like to show for. I think that Gibbs 4+ catches.
Not rushing, receiving.
Yeah. Gibbs 4+ receptions is solid. I wouldn't pitch anything rushing though.
I love that. Okay. That's where I was kind of looking, was Gibbs over receptions. So let's go Gibbs over receptions over 3.5. And then we could do one more. By the way, these are the 3 legs. Chubb over receiving, Baker over passing touchdowns, Gibbs over receptions. Do we want to throw in one of the props, or do we want to throw in an anytime touchdown scorer, or Nico Collins?
I think we should go with Collins.
Okay.
Like I said, that 73 or whatever is very solid. Or if you have access to the longest reception, you can do that too.
I don't know if we can SGP longest reception. Can we?
I'm not sure. I'm still dealing with this FanDuel outage thing, so I haven't been able to check that.
Oh boy. Let's see if it lets us. Nope. Okay, so we have to go receive. So you want Nico Collins over receiving yards?
Yeah. Is it 74, 75?
You could get 72.5.
I'm fine with anything over in the 60 to 75 range.
Going over 74.5 gives us 8-1 on Novig and almost 8-1, plus 826 on Novig, but plus 796 on DraftKings.
Very nice. Yeah. I think he goes for 100+ tonight.
Okay. So snapshotting the SGP right now, and then going to write it in the chat because Mark always likes it written in the chat. I hate that I can't send a picture in the chat. That's very annoying. While I do this and throw this in the chat, let's talk a little Major League Baseball for tonight. ALCS Game 7. How are you approaching this?
Are you gonna ask me to pick a winner? Because I truly have
or no, you don't have to pick a winner. You could just say any kind of props that you would bet, any kind of way you would bet this. You could say you don't want to bet it. It's up to you.
I think that there's a world where you could see Vlad Guerrero get walked twice, and both of those could be intentional. He's obviously the hottest hitter in baseball of the teams remaining. And I do think that, going 3 for 3 against Kirby and essentially laying the hammer down in that game, I'd be really, really scared if I was Seattle and how you approach that. So that's kind of like step one in evaluating this game. I think when you're looking at Shane Bieber and his success, I mean, not too many innings in the playoffs. Like I think it's 8 innings or so. He's shut down lefties and he's got a good strikeout rate against that handedness. But the strikeout numbers have really dipped against righties recently, and that could force some Suarez action. Rosarena's been hot the last couple of games in this series. Julio struggled a little bit. I think he's 0 for 10 in the last 3, but I do think I feel like he could get going too, though the history isn't great in this spot. So I worry. I do like Bieber strikeouts, but I worry about how long he's actually in this game because any sign of trouble in a game 7, you're getting pulled. And that's also why I feel like the Kirby stuff is really shaky. I agree with Matt. I think that Toronto can put up a couple runs while Kirby's out there, but you're really asking for some luck and you're asking that he gets taken out of the game with runners on, that he, still those are his runners. So that worries me a little bit. They could have a quick pull on Kirby, and Brian Woo's out for the in a bullpen scenario tonight too. So like, I don't know. I heard you talking about like not liking an over and not liking like trusting pitchers in the spot. I agree with you. It's very hard to pick a winner, but I will say I'm gonna find a stat that I just saw. I believe it said, and I'm gonna make sure I get this right, that of the last 8 game 7s that the home team has only won once.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it's like 1 in 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
John Ewing posted that from BetMGM.
Man, that is I don't know how much I trust that necessarily, but I do think that's actually somewhat interesting. It's really hard for me to pick against the Jays right now with how much they're rolling the last like 4 games specifically.
I know. I'm not betting it. I know it sounds bad, and I'm going to give some stuff out about certain trends and numbers to see if that helps anybody make their bets, but I probably am staying away. Everyone will laugh because I feel like now everyone's narrative is on the Toronto Blue Jays. Everyone thinks that the Blue Jays can't lose. The Blue Jays are untouchable. The Mariners pitching has looked bad, but I don't know if I'm ready to bounce off of the Mariners just yet. Again, I'm probably not betting this because I wanted to trust the Mariners and I just cannot trust their pitching. NBA, it's NBA Eve. We've got the NBA tomorrow night. Just a couple of games. Are you looking at anything, or is it just that you have a certain approach to betting the NBA early on that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I think what you have to do is you sprinkle the first week. You look at coaching changes. You look at, roster turnover. You look at who's coming into the season already injured, aka Boston. I think that you take a look at teams that are looking to make that next step. I have one of those teams that I'm taking a long shot on in terms of making the finals. And I think that I use the first week to 2 weeks to kind of get a gauge on what player prop tendencies look like. I know that's obviously some of the most important markets for NBA specifically, and why we love using the props.cash tool, because it is the best sport to bet player props. I'm looking at just how things are changing, and furthermore, like one of the most important things for me is to look at not only coaching changes, like I said, but to look at how coaching changes affect pace of play. And I think that if you can discover some teams that might have ran slow last year that look to project to run faster this year, I think Boston's one of those teams because they're losing a lot of big man depth, and obviously Tatum's not there. Mm-hmm. Those are some interesting spots because those lead to more overs. Those lead to more scoring and production. So those are the first couple things here.
Well, and now without coaches, you've also got a few stars out. The Rockets going to be without Van Vliet. They're 7.5-point road dogs at Oklahoma City. Golden State going to face the Lakers, but no LeBron. The Lakers are +2 at home against Golden State. Lines, props you might be looking at for tomorrow.
I think this is a huge leap year, who already kind of took the leap, but I think it could even look better for Amin Thompson, who kind of felt like he
You
was just
screwed
like,
all my Şengün props last year. I was pissed.
dude, yeah, I mean, like, Şengün is a hard market in general. And I think that's going to be even more murky now with KD there. I do think this is when push comes to shove, like Jalen Green's not there. FVV, that spot is not great for them in terms of like losing him. But I do think that I can't really bet this anywhere that I've found yet, but I think I can, if I can find it, I'll do it. I think that Amin Thompson can be an all-star this year. And I do think that the role carved out for him is really, really strong on paper. I also like Rockets plus 1,400 right now to win the NBA championship. I think it's a good price, and I think people are still
Even
buying
without
low.
VanVleet.
Even without VanVleet, yeah.
Okay.
I think Thompson is better on a multitude of levels.
I love the Houston Rockets. I'm a little worried about no VanVleet, but I was so excited about them last year for this year, which is, I know sounds crazy, but they were so awesome to watch last year. You're awesome to watch every Monday here on this show. Thank you so much for coming on. As always, Jared Block from Trinity Analytics. Go check him out over there. He's got all his stats, info, analytics that you could find every day of the week, not just on Mondays. Anything else you want to plug before I let you go?
I have some sprinkle MVP on a team that I'm looking to make a huge jump in an East conference that really feels like it's Cleveland or bust, but I feel like we've seen enough playoff stuff from Cleveland to see that's the kind of wishy-washy. I think that the Magic have what it takes either this year or next year. So I kind of want to be early and say that they have a really good shot to make the finals and win the title. They're plus 2,200 on Bet Online. That's where I found it today. And I think that sprinkle MVP conversation should go to Paolo Banchero. That's who I got outside chance here.
Ooh, okay. Well, I hope you're not a year early like I was for the Toronto Blue Jays, who I gave out last year to win the American League. So we'll see if that was a year too early tonight. Jared Block, thanks so much. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
And yes, that is true. I played it this afternoon on social media. You can check it out on X. That on MLB Network last year, I said the Toronto Blue Jays are going to win the American League. And they made me look absolutely silly last year. And then this year, here we are. So no, it wasn't this year. It was last year. And I don't hate the Blue Jays. I really don't. I have nothing against the Blue Jays. I'd be very happy for you guys if you win it all. I just don't. I thought the Mariners had a better chance earlier in the postseason. That's it. I like the Mariners and I like the Tigers. I liked whoever was going to win that game, but here we are. Anyway, we've got propaganda. Most bet on props according to BetMGM in Major League Baseball and Monday Night Football tonight. Propaganda. These are the most bet on props according to BetMGM for the ALCS. George Kirby under outs. Shocker, it's game 7. Vladdy homer, we don't bet those. Shane Bieber over outs. It's game 7. I'm not doing that. Cal Raleigh, home run. Shocker. See, George Springer, guys, we've got to bet the run scored, not the home run, the run scored or the RBI. We could check out props.cash real quick and see which one it likes better in the system. Why did I log out of props.cash? What the heck? I didn't mean to do that. Props.cash. Okay. Again, use promo code PropQueen, sign up for props.cash, 50% off your first month, and you could see all this stuff for like $9. Run scored. Springer has been the trend. It's now minus 124. Remember, game 1, we got this for plus 122, people. Last 10 games, scored a run in 7 of the last 10. 2025 at home against a righty at night. 62% of games to score a run. I don't know if Ribby was the same. No, not Ribby's. So a run scored for George Springer tonight. 4 for 12 with 2 singles and a double. 1 home run against George Kirby. I think it might be 2 now. I would go there. A run scored tonight for George Springer would be the way that I would play Springer, not the home run. I don't hate the Blue Jays. I don't know why you guys think I hate the Blue Jays. I literally don't. I literally don't hate the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays hate the Yankees. The Yankees fans don't care about the Blue Jays. We don't. I hate the Red Sox. That's who I hate. I hate the Red Sox and I hate the Mets. Truthfully, that's who I hate, the Red Sox and the Mets. And I don't even really hate the Mets. I just don't want them to win, because if the Mets win, then they have bragging rights over New York until the Yankees win. And I just can't deal with that. Can't deal with Mets fans on that page. Red Sox fans, they annoy me. They're just, I've been bred to hate the Red Sox. So I hate the Red Sox, obviously. That's who we hate in the AL East. We do not care about the Toronto Blue Jays. These are the most bet on props according to BetMGM for Monday Night Football. Amon-Ra St. Brown. So these are the ones John Ewing of BetMGM said. BetMGM said 99% of money is on these Monday Night Football props. Amon-Ra St. Brown over receptions. Baker Mayfield over passing touchdowns. Damn it. Woody Marks over receiving yards. And remember, we just said earlier that we liked the over for Nick Chubb receiving yards. Cameron Johnson over 8.5 receiving yards, and Jahmyr Gibbs over his receiving yards. I'm actually going with Gibbs over receptions instead of receiving yards, but now I'm going to be annoyed because I think I missed the plus 120. Because did I bet it this morning? No, because I'm an idiot, and I decided to go walk Marley and then forgot about it. So Jahmyr Gibbs over receptions just stands out to me. I was looking at the primetime numbers. He's hit this, and actually I'll bring it up on props.cash. Let's go to the NFL. Let's go to props.cash. Let's do receptions. Gibbs. Okay. I keep saying okay. That's bad. Very bad today. I'm going to show you why props.cash tells me the over receptions had the most value this morning at plus 120 as opposed to the over receiving yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, look at this. Prime time last 10 at home. That's a lot of green. 6 of the last 8 have gone over at home in prime time. Gibbs over 3.5 receptions. So that's what props.cash told us. So that's why it led me to the receptions more than receiving yards. Overall this year, I know that Gibbs hasn't been used as much in the passing game, but this is the big one, prime time. The Bucs allow the 4th most receptions per game to running backs. 63% of running backs to face Tampa Bay have gone over their receptions prop this year. Receiving yards wise, Gibbs has gone over this number in 6 of 9 games since the start of 2024 when he faces a team bottom 10 against pass-catching backs. He's hit this over in 7 of the last 10 primetime games, averaging just over 29 receiving yards. The Bucs have allowed the 3rd most receiving yards per game to running backs this year at just over 55 a game. 6 of the 8 running backs to face the Bucs have gone over their receiving props this year. So you could look there. You could look at David Montgomery as well. I'm probably sticking to Jahmyr Gibbs, but again, this is about the trend of the Bucs struggling against pass-catching backs. And David Montgomery actually has gone over this in 7 of 9 games against teams bottom 10 against pass-catching backs. He also, Montgomery, went over this number in all 3 games against Tampa. 19, 14, and 35 receiving yards for Montgomery. In fact, in prime time, Montgomery has had at least 9 receiving yards in 7 of the last 10 primetime games, averaging 18 yards per game. But here's the thing. He's coming off a 37-yard performance against the Kansas City Chiefs. So that scares me. If you feel like teams zigzag across their running backs when it comes to choosing who's going to be involved in the passing game, then it would be Jahmyr Gibbs' turn this week after Montgomery had the big week last week. But that was like one big catch because that was only 2 receptions that Montgomery had in that game. So just be careful of the two-headed monster in the backfield for Detroit. But the Bucs struggle against pass-catching backs. The Lions do not struggle against running backs. They are allowing the least rush attempts per game to running backs this year, 17.5. 70% of running backs to face Detroit have gone under their rush attempt prop. Rachaad White has gone under 14.5 rush attempts in 9 of his last 10 primetime games, averaging 8.5 rush attempts per game. So the Bucs don't throw in prime time. The Bucs don't throw in prime time. So stay away from Rachaad White tonight or take his under 14.5 rush attempts. They're going to try to expose the Lions' bad secondary because everybody's hurt in the secondary for Detroit. So they're going to throw the football, and Rachaad White, he's not going to want to go up against that Detroit pass rush under 14.5 rush attempts. He might want to, but the Bucs will be smart enough not to. And then, of course, the Jared Goff prop, which Mid-Major Matt gave out. It was plus 120, plus 125 this morning. I don't think it's there anymore, but if it's still in plus money and you're willing to take the risk on the kneel downs, Goff's averaging just over 3 rushing yards through his last 10 primetime games. He had 7 in his last 3 of 5 primetime games at home. So I know it's really close, but Jared Goff over a half a rushing yard is intriguing tonight for such a low number. Texans Seahawks props tonight. Sam Darnold under his completions, 19.5. He's gone under this in 5 of his last 8 games when facing teams top 10 in completions allowed since the start of last year. 4 of Darnold's last 7 primetime games also went under 19.5 completions. This year, 2 of the 3 home games went under as well. The Texans are allowing the 3rd least completions per game this year at 18. 4 of the 5 quarterbacks to face the Texans have gone under their completions prop. Seattle's tight end, A.J. Barner, I'm going to go under his receiving yards. He actually hasn't faced a defense that's this good against tight ends yet this year. The Texans have allowed the 5th least receiving yards per game to tight ends. 75% of tight ends went under their receiving yards prop this year against Houston. The Seahawks should take advantage of the Texans' banged-up secondary. Use their wide receivers. Don't go against their linebackers, who have been pretty good this year, by using your tight end. So A.J. Barner under receiving yards. C.J. Stroud over 219.5 passing yards. He's hit at least 220 passing yards in 4 of his last 6 primetime games. When facing bottom 10 defenses, Stroud's gone over in 7 of his last 11 dating back to the start of last year. Seattle has allowed the 5th most passing yards per game to quarterbacks this year. So definitely struggling there in the secondary for the Seattle Seahawks. And as I mentioned in Major League Baseball, there wasn't anything that I really wanted to bet, but I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of things to know. I thought it was very interesting to find out that George Kirby is 2-0 in these elimination games. 1-1 in elimination games with a .75 ERA, 11 strikeouts, no walks. He's had 2 postseason elimination starts, but it's his first road start in a month, and Kirby had a 5.16 ERA and 11 road starts this year. Seattle, everyone except Logan Gilbert's available tonight. Toronto, everyone except Trey Savage is available tonight. Even Max Scherzer and Kevin Gossman could go. Seattle has scored 21 of its 27 runs via the home run. That's 78%. Let's see what else. Vladdy's hitting .462, 6 homers, 12 ribbies in 10 games this postseason. He's got the 4th highest OPS in a single postseason in history. His 6 career postseason home runs tied for team history, the most in team history. If I had to do something in Major League Baseball tonight, I would say George Springer over a half a run. George Springer over half a run. We've been riding it the whole postseason, this whole series. So that's where I'd be looking. I know you guys like Polanco for his average and Crawford. Kirby's not that good, but he's good enough that I wouldn't fade him right now when it comes to like the first 5 over 1.5, like Major Matt said. I know we gave up 8 runs the last time out, and he's bad on the road, so everything's stacked against him. I'm just telling you, everyone seems to be on Toronto. I'm going to look at the DraftKings splits real quick. Or let me see if John Ewing posted the splits for tonight. I just feel like everyone told me they're on Toronto today, and that's starting to scare me for the Blue Jays. For Mark's Blue Jays, that scares me for you. And the trend, of course, teams are 1-7 at home in the last 8 game 7s. I'll see what the DraftKings splits. Oh, wait, no, never mind. Here it is. BetMGM. Yeah. 62% of bets, 85% of handle are on the Blue Jays tonight, according to BetMGM. Let me see what it is on DraftKings. MLB. DraftKings. Blue Jays money line, 63% of handle, 56% of bets. So the public is more on Toronto tonight, and I don't think Seattle's that bad. I know they've looked bad, but they won in Toronto. They went up 2-0. If you want to fade the public, you're betting Seattle. That's all. Bieber about to go Yamamoto tonight. Oh, Jesus. I don't trust Bieber just as much as I don't trust Kirby. And this isn't because I don't like the Blue Jays. It's just because I don't think Seattle's this bad. And I think the line, FanDuel's all messed up right now. Let me just see what the line's at. Oh, God. FanDuel's all messed up because they're on the, they have yesterday's game posted as today's game. That's not good. I'll see what the updated line is. real quick. Because I think earlier Toronto was what, minus 130? Let's see what they are now. Yeah, minus 132 Toronto against Kirby. It's a fair line. Fair line for the way that the Blue Jays are hitting. I don't know. Guys, I really don't know. I know that's terrible and you don't come on this show for that. I lean Seattle. I've leaned Seattle all the time. That's my lean. But I'm saying George Springer over a half a run. That's the play of the night for me. Mark, good luck to your Blue Jays. May the best team win. May the team that wins be the team that gives the Dodgers the best run for their money. That's all I can ask for, is the team that wins tonight is the best team to face the Dodgers. That's all I hope for. I hope for a great World Series. Good luck to all your bets tonight. Tomorrow will be very NBA heavy. We've got the NBA opener. We'll talk NBA futures. We've got Mr. Dream coming on the show. And I'm going to see what Coach is up to tomorrow. So we'll see a lot of NBA. And we'll talk a little bit about the recaps of Major League Baseball, Monday Night Football, dive into some NFL futures maybe now that we're about to be on week 8. I will see you all tomorrow here on the Prep Queen Pod, 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time.